bad.
That's just code.
Hang on 1 second. Let me check something out real quick.
You have your phone. I can take this link and send it to yourself. That'll get us there. Let's do that.
What?
Here's the URL.
Oh, yeah. Do that.
I don't know what they're doing.
Copy. Okay, now go.
Alt tilde, boom.
Lance, yes. Lance, yes.
Email? Yeah, go ahead.
Send it to Lance.
Now, is this a new email? Like, should you wait until the link is actually until we're actually broadcast, or does it
I'm
matter?
sending it to you. Why don't you you just got it. Now, click that link. It's just do it.
Oh, YouTube. I think it's. Did it only show up once you were off?
There you are, see. So that's the link you want. So go tweet that link.
No. This is the.
That's the
This
live
is old.
feed. No, that's
Yeah.
Look.
It's not live. It's behind. Way behind.
yeah, it should be about 20 seconds behind.
Sure.
Yep.
Watch me do this.
1, 2, 3, 4.
What's that see, John?
Well, I did it once first. There it is. That's the first one.
So yeah, it's about 35 seconds behind.
Oh, okay. All right. Well then, yeah. So put this link out there.
Yeah, that's the one spread.
Okay.
I'm gonna start.
All right.
I'll go ahead and start recording now. Hard drive. Let me see. Level mic 1. John.
Testing. 1, 2. Test.
I looked, and when I looked away, he didn't like
Test.
Test. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Is it good?
bitch. Yeah. So there's somewhere on the screen that shows how many people are watching. And if there's not, there should be.
Not yet. No one will be.
Nobody is on. Oh yeah, because nobody knows where to bleep it is. 1. Oh, it's you, Lance.
But no one knows where to go.
Man, the chicks are gonna be all over me after this. This is so exciting.
Okay, we ready? Are we broadcasting now?
Yeah, it's okay.
Oh, because all this stuff is it's all going to be on.
You can edit this.
All of this is on YouTube, and you can trim after.
Okay.
Now, the audio, I'll have a giant WAV file with everything, and I'll edit it down and get it to you tomorrow at lunch.
All right.
We still have 0 viewers.
0.
And let's keep in mind,
It's a big number.
if this gets to 20 or 50 or 100, that the podcast is.
Oh
more
no,
effective.
that's what I'm doing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I'll embed the YouTube if I want, and then we'll take the audio. So.
Yeah.
So where's the podcast called? Chronicle?
Yeah. Scareport, because I'm done at the end of this month.
Which is fashion. By the way, Fail Chronicle. Oh my lord. That what they're doing, they don't realize how much you guys generate.
It's not their
interest.
call. It's,
I know it's her. I know that, but still, that it's not their call. That's
well,
not
I
an
think they
excuse anymore.
do realize.
They're unhappy about it.
I'm a sports editor. I mean, I'm sure. All right. You ready to get started?
Yeah, you got 4 viewers. You got 5 now.
Hey, kids.
Thank you. I'm the voice from above.
Hi.
I don't know what to do with my hands.
No.
Remember
What was that?
Talladega Nights?
Oh.
I don't know what to do with my hands.
That was me clearing my throat.
It's just like old times, guys. Let's y'all ready to take our pants off?
Yeah. No. I thought you meant start. All right.
So you can probably do a dry intro to this for these set 11 people, and then are your ringers off, by the way?
Yep.
And then, but you need a good, proper welcome to the podcast in a second. So you can give some behind the. Oh my lordy. Okay. My ringer wasn't on.
All right, welcome to the Z Report podcast, one of the last ones here on the Z Report on the Houston Chronicle, broadcasting live on YouTube, so doing it through Google Hangout as well. But if you couldn't catch it on the Hangout, you can't catch it on the audio. Chance McClain is off camera, but is recording and is mixing, and we'll dress it up, and so we'll have the finished product probably cut into pieces to make it a little easier to listen to the different pieces, probably a little different segments. Matt Thomas says, you look like hell. So already we're getting
there it is. That's a good start, Matt.
Appreciate that, Matt Thomas. Love you. Mean it. All right, so what we'll do is just kind of have some fun. We'll answer questions. I asked for questions on Twitter, and people sent questions the other day. So we've got you can't have that on there. I do Bud Light advertisements. We can't unless they're in the same family, which maybe they are. I have to find out.
Nobody knows anymore.
No, so you know John Granato. I'm Lance Zierlein. Chance McClain is going to play moderator. We'll check in on Twitter from time to time, but generally speaking, just going to trust Chance to use questions he wants, discard others, and take it whatever direction. And we'll just go in a lot of different directions covering our time on the radio. So, Chance, without further
Yeah, first of all, hey, guys, as your friend and former coworker and lover and fan, for real, old school fan, it's really, really, really fucking great to see you two sitting next to each other talking about whatever. We can talk anything. I don't care. It's kind of cool. I get a geek moment, so awesome.
Yeah, it's good to be. It's good to be by John again, and good to be with you again as well.
Yeah, it's good that you're off camera.
It is good.
That is the awesome part.
Yeah, that was well planned out, guys. Well, first thing, let's start with the early years. Let's go back to the bench. Let's talk about maybe some of you guys' favorite callers and some of the classic moments from the bench days. You guys are both getting into radio back then. John, you've been there for a while. Lance, you came in from doing stuff as well. We actually started together.
Yeah. Well, I started before John doing it with me and Adam Wexler hosting with Mike Edmonds.
Right.
Because Ed Fowler had just quit. I was doing a weekend with, you may remember, Fast Break with Nate. And then me and Wex had the courtside report. And so, anyway, I was hustling up opportunities with John. John was doing Sports Night Live, and anytime he needed a fill-in, just, hey, Kenny Smith can't make it, or somebody can't make it, so I'd haul ass the jalapenos and get a free meal out of that from Katie.
That happened.
And I remember getting a call from John. Actually, I think it was on the way back maybe from one of his shows that we did, and it looked like something had fallen through with Russ Small.
He was supposed to come over, and KTRH made him a counter offer. But when he got the job, I said we were out at the Woodlands at the Shell Houston Open. I go, I'll be your partner, and he goes, okay, let's do it. And Dickie said, yeah, and then
yeah, partner. Yeah,
pods. And then Russ called me and said, I'm staying at KTRH. And I went into Dickie, and Dickie goes, well, partner, who do you want? And I said, I want Lance. And that was it. That's how it started.
And he knew me because I was already doing shows because I picked him some hot winners. He goes, hey, partner, you got the hot shit, partner. You picking winners over here. And so I think I probably got the job. Because I was already on the station, and I was already on the station because I gave him a couple of winners in football. It was literally, I mean, if I'd have lost those games, if the wrong spread would have come,
still be waiting tables.
Yeah, I'd have been done.
Well, and it was funny early on. They hated our show because it went from Mike and Ed and Rich and Kenny
talking about Hackberry.
And yeah, I mean, and it couldn't be a more different show when we started.
I was in my 20s, John in his 30s, so we were full steam ahead, and Mike and Ed were literally a slow motion old school show.
Reading the Chronicle.
Like reading the Chronicle, reading stuff out of the Chronicle.
How'd that go?
And went pretty well. And so we came in.
What did that sound like?
Yeah, what did it?
It went like this. Well, let's take a look at Duffy Waldorf. It says here in the Chronicle, fired a 68. Let's take a look at hole by hole how Duffy played this. Number 5 was an interesting hole. Like, it couldn't have been worse.
And then in comes John and Lance.
Yeah, so we came in, and a funny story. Actually, Bob Elliott, we knew what we wanted to do, kind of brand, like, let's call our show The Bench, because we're self-deprecating, like, we don't take ourselves too serious, and we'll have a 2-minute drill where people will get it. It was based on, no, we called it, was it called 2-minute drill, or was it called Finish Up Strong is what we called it. It was called Finish Up Strong at the end of the show, and it was based on what Vince Cellini was actually doing on CNN Network Sport. At the time, he had like a live call-in show.
Right.
And so I just kind of lifted that, and I brought that to John and said, hey, let's do that. And like, yeah, whatever. And so we said, let's have our listeners we'll try to make them, we'll try to brand it like bench warmers. We didn't really know what branding was. Or he probably did. I didn't. Just, it just sounded like it made sense. And so we had this guy, Bob Elliott, do an intro. What it was Mike and Ed's old music, like on the road again, and then you could hear a scrape of the record needle, and then Miserlou came on, because Pulp Fiction at that time was like 3 years old, so it was still pretty hot. And but Bob Elliott, we said, and Bob, what we need, and I didn't really, we knew him because he did the Astro stuff, I guess. What we need you to do is like say, you were off the whatever their show was called, and you were on the bench with John and Lance, and he just said, you are on the bench. Like, it was just not cool at all. And so he did it.
Radio.
Yeah.
And you are on the bench.
On the bench. And so when we were like, thanks, Bob, and he left, like, hey, Rowdy H, you got a big, powerful voice. Can you do this same thing? And he did it, and he did a really good one. And then Bob Elliott didn't, like, he was listening, and he came up to me and goes, hey, or he told Rusty, our producer, hey, how come my intro got scrubbed? I did it, and then fucking Rowdy H is on there. Because you were terrible. And he's like badmouthing me behind my back at 7.
I don't even remember him. I thought what you were the story you were going to tell is when Dickie didn't like our show at all. He's like, hey,
well,
Pana,
he thought
you guys are getting on all over the place. Mattress Mac don't like your show. You're talking about poop on an airplane, and listen, we got to get somebody in here. So he brings in Ed Shane.
Well, here's what first happened. At first he's like, yeah, we go, Pana, you got your cousin, everything's going good. And then he went to what was his country club called?
Oh yeah, it wasn't Westwood. It was Braeburn.
Right? Braeburn. And he got with his other old school guys, who were all like 60, 70, 80. They were not feeling our show.
Ed back.
And they hated it. And Dickie, his show is terrible. And Dickie's like, hey, Patty, the guys that I talk to don't like it. Like, I'm not surprised the guys you talk to don't like it. And so he was really down, like, this isn't working. And so he brought in a radio consultant, Ed Shane, who came in and, well, you have to decide, you have to, like, John will be the big brother, and you're the little brother who's kind of crazy, and it was
shucks, darn it.
Yeah.
Why are you always getting in this mess?
Like, so what do you think you would do? Like, what would be a topic you'd talk about with Jerry Jones? And he gave me some stories. I'd probably do this with it about, I'd take this story and turn it into a sports story, like kind of change it. He goes,
or that he's got a plastic face or something.
Yeah, and he goes, that's before his face was super plastic though. And then Ed goes, I remember him sitting there with me in the room. John wasn't in there. I think John had walked out or something. Ed's like, well, that sounds about right. That's exactly what you should do. Then he listened. Then he came back 2 weeks later. Like, he'd fly in for meetings with us. He goes, everything sounds good. I told Dickie it sounds like it should sound. And Dickie's like, hey, buddy, we talked to Eddie. He said things are coming along. Y'all making the right changes. And we weren't doing anything different. Like, nothing different. And then the ratings came out, and they started going up and up and up. And then we, like, to this day, I can't believe. Do you remember, did you go to the microbrewery? We went to that microbrewery across the street that was there. And that's where I met Sean Pendergast. That's where I met Tony Prock. That's where I met a lot of listeners that are my friends today. And they all came out there and were hanging out with us at a lunchtime. And you can't get, you couldn't get as stuff as packed as we went to an Astros game. We had tickets to the Astros in 97. No. Yeah. We started in spring 97. Right. So we had tickets to the Astros game probably like 2 months after we had started. We went there. The place was packed. Like, all of our 610 tickets were all gone. We did a golf tournament out at what's that place way out past Hockley or whatever? Remember that I used to speak for? And we charged
Tenneco. It was then.
Kenwood.
Huh?
No, I can't remember what it was called, but It was we charged $35, and you know what you get? Like a goodie bag with just some crap in it. And we sold it out.
Yep.
People paid $35 to come play golf with us. Now you have to give away spots, and they'll come out and do that stuff. We sold out the whole thing in Big Ball Sports. Keith Collins got us a lot of Big Ball Sports T-shirts, and we had to hustle up our own stuff. I mean, to this day, I didn't really realize how cool it was, how many people were coming out to our events.
I think one of the things about that is just because everybody was younger and didn't have kids and, weren't so into their careers and having to go to Little League and all that stuff. Yeah. Our listeners have grown up with us now, and it's, it's hard to, pry them into, if we got them.
The demographics of 20.
Free titty dances, they wouldn't come now.
Like 22 to 35 is where you get people 22 to 35 is when you get people to come out.
Right.
Like, that's the age of people who will come out. And so it is, you'd have to have a red-hot show with that age group, and you don't there's none of them in Houston like that, or maybe they would have that kind of response. But I've never seen any show that generated the response that we were able to get. You were a listener, and you came out to our event.
Yeah.
You took part in Slapfest
1 and 2.
1 and 2.
That happened.
That happened.
Just because I made mention of something as a Fox Sports promo or whatever.
It was awesome.
That was awesome promo.
Like 2 Russians slapping each other. Yeah. You don't want this. You want sports. We're like, no, we want.
Yeah, we do.
2 Russian guys slapping each other.
That was
when we got it.
That was an event. That was something else.
What about the first one though? There was practically no one there. Charlie Palillo was there. I remember. And
Slapfest 1 got packed with people because Jason
was
at
Hooters.
Yeah, but we were packed.
Not like 2.
Well, that was different. That was a 5-year anniversary too.
Right.
But remember, everyone was coming to watch Jason play.
Right.
And get his
head.
And he ran
away.
And he ran away. And he lost. People were chasing
Man, he
down.
got beat 78-0, and he was.
Yeah, 2. He got a safety at the end.
Oh.
So you guys started the bench, and you built an audience, and you had a bunch of happy Houstonians, and everything was great, and everybody was all happy. And then Bill and Laura, your manager and general manager came in. Your PD and general manager came in, and things started changing a little bit.
Well, the first thing they did was eliminate the field. Like, it was a terrible move just to eliminate the name, the bench.
Remember the first GM we had? Who walked like this? What was it?
Owen. He was on the FM side. We never even saw him.
No, I know. We never saw him. And then he was gone, and everybody was happy. And I go, wait a minute. You don't know what you're asking for here because you don't know what you're going to get. And then we got it.
Yeah, we got Bill and Laura, and I'm not sure the name of the bench is great. What about the John and Lance show?
That's creative.
Like, I don't know about Cocoa Pebbles. How about chocolatey, crunchy cereal? Like, there's no branding there. It actually it runs contrary to everything people try to do
you're
now,
supposed
which
to
is
do.
The brand. We had listeners who were bench warmers. We had all that stuff, but when they came in, that was a bummer. And I remember being warned by somebody in the media at that time, like, be very careful because they love nothing more than get rid of you and bring in their guy Russ Small. Yeah. And at the time, I was thinking, nah, come on.
Well,
but that happened.
And then they brought
happened.
They did bring
Strawberries and Cream rejoins the morning show.
They brought Russ Small in and forced him on our show, and we had. I mean, our numbers then were consistently 4+, and I really didn't pay attention to numbers that much back then. I mean, I just knew that we were doing a good show. We didn't have any competition. Yeah, I didn't know that. I didn't until I went back. Actually, I didn't even know the numbers at all because Dickie used to hide it from us, our boss. Because he moved us from 3 hours to 4 hours. At first, he hated our show. Then he couldn't wait to get us on for 4 hours from 7 to 11. And he finally gave me my contract after 6 months of working, saying I was going to get a 2-year contract. And that's back when I thought contracts were awesome. And I said, hey, I still haven't got my contract. Hey, but it's coming. Let's just see how things go. I got some paperwork working. And I'm like, okay. And 6 months later, he goes, here's your contract. When he was happy with everything. Well, and it was a 2-year contract for the exact same money all the way through. So I made the exact same money for the first 2.5 years. And then when we went from 3 hours from 6 to 9 to 4 hours from 7 to 11.
And Lance goes in and he goes, hey, how about a little something? And he tells me.
I didn't even say it like that.
Hey, we're going another hour. How about a little something for it? And Dickie goes, hey, tell Lance he ain't digging ditches. Okay.
I went into him, and John's the one who negotiated my first deal. Basically said, "Well, this is how much you're going to make," and I was happy. I was like, "Cool," it wasn't much, but I was like, "Cool," because what was Dickie? I had no leverage. I just couldn't wait to be on radio. That was more money than I was making at the time, and so Dickie, I went into Dickie and like, did John talk to you about? I know we're going from 3 hours to 4 hours. Are we going to get paid like the same amount, but for the whatever it equals for the
20,
3 hours.
Yeah, like a 33% raise is coming, right?
He goes, hey, partner, you ain't working at coal mine. He told me, you ain't working at coal mine, partner. Hey, do your lungs feel okay? Like, yeah. Hey, Pat, hey, you can breathe. Hey, you having a good time. This ain't no hard job. I'm like, I guess it's not. I guess I'm fine. Now that you mention it, I'm not in a coal mine, I guess.
And they wanted us at first to be like Jim Rome, because Rome was hot.
Rome was on fire.
He was on fire when we started.
Rome was burning.
And they were like, hey, why can't you be in the jungle? And
is there anything you could call yourself the rainforest or something? Like, no.
And catch a vine, and everybody's out. Okay?
Well, but all of our callers, that was a problem because we've said, hey guys, great to remember Larry and Montrose. That was one car like, appreciate the vine, guys, and everyone. Half of our callers are trying to be clones, which is fine because we got we were helped out by Jim Rome doing so well, brought listeners to our show when we fed into them. But then we were fighting people just trying to say, y'all are trying to be like Jim Rome, because we weren't. We were just doing our show. So it was like literally fighting people thinking that we're Jim Rome, but still having Jim Rome's clones calling and like, appreciate the vine, guys. Like, Larry, it's not a vine. But
yeah, but whatever. We had Collie and Cowboy Bill.
Racist Collie, racist Cowboy Bill. Collie the black collar.
Awesome.
John Lance. I'll bet you a white boy pissing in his helmet. Like somebody had their stuff stolen from Rice's baseball facility. Like, why would a white boy piss in somebody's helmet like that? Like, I don't know.
Or Baylor killing the cat. Or Tiger Woods, Cabin Asian? No. He robs a bank? He could be a black man.
No, we argue with him. No, he's part Asian. He's white. He's got all these things. Hey, John Lance, John Lance. He's talking to John. John Lance, hold on, John. If Tiger Woods robs a bank and leaves the bank, what are they gonna say? A black man robbed the bank. He goes, they ain't gonna say a Cabin Asian robbed the bank. I'm like, well,
that is true.
Yeah, it's true.
That is true. Yami, we have.
Wow.
Billy Ice. He was on the party bus for the 5-year anniversary. There's Dimebag Mike, the guy who blew a bong hit. The first one until Chives did it when we were on at 1560. We've had 2 live bong hits on the air.
Well, we'll discuss blue light later.
Well, yeah, right.
So
I had
callers,
Jay Deppel recently smoking some weed on there.
It was actually, radio's changed a lot because the callers were huge back then, and we'd give them nicknames and listeners, and they were smarter callers. They were clever. Some of them were bad, which made them good.
Jason.
That's where On a Mobile started too.
Yeah.
Well, you started On a Mobile doing Mac Brown. And I
started doing On a Mobile, but is anything that
it was Hunter. It was
Coach Slocum.
Coach Slocum On a Mobile. That's right. Yeah.
It's okay to say Hunter.
Yeah.
Hunter.
It was Coach Slocum On a Mobile.
And so that was when it first started, actually.
All right, so just following along here, you guys came in out of nowhere, created an audience, did well. Infinity sold to CBS. Bill and Laura came in. It kind of got corporatified a little bit, and your show changed. You surrendered some audience. Somewhere along the line, I came in after doing the Yao Ming song, and somehow that qualified me to work in radio. And we started, I think, having fun again and building up an audience again. You've covered Bill and Laura, and then something happened where there was a faction of people from CBS split off to start a new radio station. So why don't we discuss a little bit?
Off of 610 that fast?
This is a limited time. Years. Yeah, but I wasn't. I was only there for 3. So.
Yeah, but you were there, and I owe you a steak dinner to this day.
Why do you owe a steak dinner?
Are you a vegan now?
No, I've never. Come on.
But
I was vegan when I had diarrhea for 6 months, so I quit eating everything.
But you're wearing black hipster glasses, so you could be a vegan.
Good Lord.
Raheel loves
because I do owe you a steak dinner, but I won't say why.
I can't even remember. I probably don't want to know.
I ended up at 1560, didn't I?
Oh, yeah. And
that's actually an interesting story if you ever wanted to tell it.
Yeah. There's lots of interesting stories there. I don't even know. There's no. 1560 happened.
Let me tell you how it happened. Well, let me tell you how this happened. We're doing a show. It's about a week before the draft. It's back when the draft was Saturday and Sunday. It's about 3 days before the draft, 2 days before the draft. I'm getting ready to go on vacation because I really wasn't covering it like the same way. Was I writing for the Chronicle? Yeah, I was writing for the Chronicle at the time. And so our show is over. We're in our new studios at 610. And John goes, after the show's over, he goes, hey, I just want to let you know I'm getting ready to go down to the office, and I'm probably going to sue him, and I may never work here again. Take it easy. And he left like, what the fuck just happened? I said, well, what are you talking about? He goes, I can't talk about it. And to this day, everyone thinks like I never knew any of the stuff that was going on or that he went to 1560. I literally had no idea, probably by design, I guess. But
totally by design.
I probably won't be here because I wasn't going to be there the next day. So I'm like, what the fuck? I go home. I'm like, John may quit or be fired or something? I don't even know. My wife's like, what? I don't know. Well, I did know that they screwed him out of live spot money. This is how ballsy they were. They screwed up our live spot money, and they owed John money.
I had a new contract, and I was supposed to get some more money for every live spot that I did. And then I go back, and I'm still getting paid the same from the old contract. And I go, hey, I got 6 months of money that you owe me. And they go, no, we're not paying you. Lauren Morris just said no.
Well,
I told Bill.
It's too late. You should
you should have found it. No, you should pay me what you owe me. And Bill, I go, Bill, go, get my money. And he comes back. He goes, well, Laura said no, but we'll start paying you now. I was like, no, that ain't good enough. Sorry.
There's no retroactive.
Yeah. It was a bad. I mean, we go into new studios. They didn't even ask us. They didn't ask us, what are you looking? Neither of those guys have done a show. Laura and Bill or any,
honestly, we got moved. We got dicked around our time slot. We got moved. We had a successful show. They bring Russ Small in. We go from the 4s down to a 1.6.
Yep.
From the 4s to a 1.6.
And they blamed y'all.
And the only way they took, and this is after Russ goes like, where is God when 9/11 happens? Where is he? We're in the middle of broadcasting 9/11, like, holy shit. And he's like, it makes you wonder, where is God on a day like today? Like, could you be more stupid to say something like that? And he just didn't fit with us.
Well, and then she goes to me, and they had to let him go because the show was so shitty.
Well,
and
who made him let go? They weren't going to let him go. The Texans said we'll never hire him, but it wasn't until Jim Barr and like Jim Barr's Ticket Attractions and Klein and all those guys got together and said, we will not advertise with you anymore if you continue to do this to the morning show.
Yeah.
And the advertisers were the ones who got Russ off of our show. And it took over a year. It took like a year and a half to get our ratings back.
And then after that, she goes to me. She goes, you got Russ fired because you wouldn't work with
us. She did?
Like, what the he was there every day. We're trying to do a show, and it was terrible.
With us.
And we just, I mean, Russ was a good broadcaster his entire career. He did the Oilers, and the Texans didn't want him as the play-by-play guy, and so they've tried to force him.
And by the way, they told 610 management before they ever hired him, don't hire him. So, I mean, I liked Russ. I still like Russ. Russ is a good guy. Seems like a nice enough guy. You may want to turn that light on just to get a little bit more light if they have light in there.
All right.
But
he
just didn't fit us. So anyway, our ratings just crashed. And this is the same
time. How you like this show, YouTube?
And this is the same time when we're being told where the station comes in and said, okay, we need more guys to talk with. That just meant John and I just needed to do our show.
Yeah.
Because our show was probably 80% sports, 20% non-sports, but we were able to mix in the non-sports with the sports to make it work. And I thought it was a perfect balance.
That was the formula.
Making Charlie and Rich do guy talk was a disaster.
Awesome.
And
Charlie said, F this, I'm out.
Yeah, Charlie ended up leaving, but
and then they sued him.
And then they lost.
So get back to Lance. Johnny comes in and tells you this.
So he says that. So I go on. I take my vacation time, and everyone's like, Lance is bailing because he's pissed off. Something's going on. Like, no, Lance I already had time off because the work I've been doing on the draft. And so I'm listening to the show the next day, and this is before Twitter or anything like that.
Time out. Bill and Laura the whole time, they're confident that there's a conspiracy going on. They're coming to me.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, they're like, what's going on? And I'm like, no, I don't know. I can't believe this. These are my friends, and I'm out of the loop.
I didn't know. I just took my vacation day. The next day, John is on the radio. I literally turned my radio on to see if John is there because I didn't leave.
That was the best show
and
ever.
He's there, and somebody called me or sent me a text saying, I think John's trying to get fired.
It's the best show ever.
And John's like, well, I don't know. I mean, surprised I've even got a job. I may not anymore. Some of you may have seen a Chronicle article, and maybe I'm fired, maybe I'm not. Maybe I'll be here next segment, I'm not.
I wish we had that air check, guys.
That was
the best thing that's ever happened.
I really didn't give a shit. It was kind of like Super Bowl week.
Yeah. Super Bowl week, by the way. Super Bowl comes to Houston. This is my first weekend radio.
That was your first week?
My first week was Super Bowl week, and I know you guys from parties and doing things like that. And when I meet John and Lance, I meet the John that I absolutely know from parties, which is he shows up at work having still been out from the night before.
Right.
And does a brilliant show. Day 1. Day 2 does a decent show. Day 3, it wasn't the best show. Day 4, you're falling asleep.
Right.
Day 5,
I'm out.
You were still out.
I'm
no,
out
you were
it.
still out.
Right.
And in between, Jay Moore came and just annihilated on radio.
Map of Hawaii.
The Map of Hawaii blast. Because we were talking about Leah Remini or whatever her name was from King of Queens, I think that was her name.
Yeah.
Something like that. And I said, didn't she strike you as being a little bit dirty? He's like, oh, I just want to put a map of Hawaii on her lower back. Like, I think I know what that means. I wasn't sure what he said. And then like, oh, my God. That's back when we were a little more careful about what was being said on the air. But
okay, so now this is the impossible story to finish. So, Lance, you
So basically, John takes off, and eventually, he's off the air, and 610 comes to me and says, well, we want to try you with different hosts, so we'll try you with Mark Vandermeer. I'm like, okay, and I literally don't know what I'm gonna do. I'm under contract, so I do a show with Mark, and I'm friends with Mark to this day. I like Mark, but it didn't really click after doing a show with John. Do a show with Matt Jackson, and it was okay. We had fun when the prank caller who always said Pikachu was calling in talking to Gilbert one time. That's kind of a famous one I still have. But, it just wasn't the same. And so I didn't know what the hell was going on, quite frankly. And then I find out that Sean Pendergast, who's a friend of mine, is hired over. The John Harris is going over there. I'm like, what in these shit? And I think it's awesome, except for the fact I'm thinking, but I don't know where I fit in. And no one will really talk to me because they don't, I'm not supposed to know what the hell's going on.
No, because of tortious interference.
Yeah,
right.
But no one will tell me that's really the reason. That
was why.
Yeah. Well, I know
because we'd have gotten our asses sued.
Well, you gotten sued, yes, if you had courted me. You could have told me that you were leaving, and you could have told me your plans but you didn't want to take any chances. And I know management didn't want to.
But remember when you came over, even Topper wouldn't let you go in the studio.
Topper was out of control. Even when I had permission from 610 to go talk to him, that was part of my settlement. And that settlement ended up costing me 13 G's. And you know what I got out of it? 1 month out early from a non-compete if I hadn't fought it. But I fought it. They pulled me off the air with what was called a pay-or-play provision, which was due to something with Howard Stern. That meant they paid me my salary, but I didn't have to be on the air. Well, it sounds like it was a paid vacation, which kind of was awesome, except I didn't get my live read spots, which was not awesome. They were still using my voice. And that money, I needed that money. A single income household, I kind of needed that money. So, and they were just kind of dicks about it.
This was back before your Duggart days. Like, you only had 3 kids at the time.
Yeah, exactly. You only had 3? Yeah, no, I only had 2.
2?
I had Sebastian. Yeah, I had Mason. Yeah, I had 3. Yeah. Alec, Mason, and
the older one,
Drake. And then they finally came to me with a big offer. And as soon as I turned it down, they knew, oh shit, because I was like, I want to work at 1560. I wasn't offered, but I knew what I wanted to do. And as soon as I said, and I turned it down because they came to me with 6 months to go in my contract. I said, I'm not signing a contract until I see how things go. I literally wanted to see how things go. And as soon as I wouldn't okay a contract with 6 months to go on my current contract, they shut it down. They pulled me off the air. I was coming back from Vegas. We were doing something with Golden Nugget.
I remember.
Bill goes, "Can you come see me after
awesome.
You get back from Vegas?" Like, yeah. And so I went in. Bill pulled me off the air, and I had a mixture. I was headed to Durango, Colorado the next day for family vacation. We decided we're going to fight you. Oh. Really? And so that started a much longer process for me. So I still made it on by November 1st of 2007.
Is that when it was? Wow.
That's when I made it on.
You beat me.
Hey,
November 1st of 2007.
We started
was that right after the hurricane?
August 20th is when we started.
No, so it was a hurricane.
2008.
Yeah.
November 1st was me and Lance Berkman. You were able to say, Lance is coming on the
Lance is
show
coming.
November
Lance is
1st. You
coming.
were able to say that.
Yep.
Because you
All
were,
right, so let's
provisions.
rewind a little bit. John, you stormed off and had one of the greatest shows in Houston radio history, with the show you didn't care about before you left at 610. And then sat for a little bit, and then 1560 happened. What was it? Was it scary? Was it fun? What was it like starting something absolutely new and different?
Well, a lot of people have asked me that, why would you leave, corporate, and you got a show and all that stuff. Quite frankly, this is 1560 was safer. There's the people that are behind this thing have way more money than Clear Channel or CBS, or at any point some asshole in New York could say, get them off the air and save money, like they did to Hudson and Harrigan. How long were Hudson and Harrigan on the air?
Yeah, pretty long.
23. Stevens and Pruitt as well. Yeah. This is something where I felt like, I was with better people. First of all, they are better people. Gow was the best person that I've ever worked for. And we're going from Lauren Morris and Bill Van Rysem to Gow was, like night and day. But I honestly, with the money that's behind, I don't want to mention their names, but their money is ridiculous. I went in one time, and I think when you left, I went and I sat down and I went to lunch with Gow and the big guy, the guy who owns it, and I said, this, I don't know how long it's going to last. You guys got to tell me what our plans are. What are we doing here? Because I'm a little bit nervous about this thing. And he goes, it's only $10 million. So would you stop worrying about it? That's all we put into this. $10 million. That's it. And I was like, oh, this is a different deal. So, as far as, scared, I really wasn't. One of the things that I didn't know about was the signal. When, it was 50,000 watts, and that doesn't really mean what you think it means,
because you think of a transmitter that doesn't work.
Well, you think of KTRH when you think of 50,000 watts, and it's a blowtorch. This is different. There's only so much. It's a limited pattern, and with the signal comes limited numbers that you're ever going to get. Even when we got together and we were doing, what I thought was great radio, was the best radio in the city. Better than what we were doing at 610. It
was easily the best radio that's been done from 2007 to 2000, about 9.5. We did some really good stuff at 610. The difference was we had it was just a different dynamic of what we had to work with. The callers were more involved, and it was just different. The stuff we had just between us and Chris Solis and you and Frank, that was the best. That was the best content and funniest, most entertaining stuff that's been on Houston radio that I've heard. And I've been listening to sports radio since I was a kid, and no one has had it like that.
No.
The thing was, to me, was that I know it's one of your questions. I think somebody asked us, if you had it to do is there anything that you would do differently? And actually, it was a question of both of you guys from a management standpoint. What do you regret, or what would you have done differently, or what did you do wrong? Here's a question I would ask, because at the time I wasn't hired by 1560, but I remember talking to Chance about this. The transmitter blew the day before you're supposed to go on the air. If you had it to do all over again, do you regret going on the air with the blown transmitter because that was the day you were supposed to launch?
Yeah, that's one of the obviously the transmitter is probably the biggest regret. The second biggest regret is the Tim Brando show.
Right.
We took Sporting News Radio from 610, and the thought was we're going to hurt them and help us, and it did just the opposite.
Yep.
Because we got into more national radio, and Tim Brando show, which everybody just despised.
We had to carry it, I guess.
Yeah, we had to carry it to get Sporting News.
We know that was bad, but I want to talk about it just for a second, because we'll get back to it.
The transmitter?
Yeah, because the signal thing.
Because
the signal thing didn't work out for a while, and you say you only get a chance for a first impression one time.
Yeah, right.
And we had more than one first impressions.
No, nobody pissed off their listeners more than we did.
But that was, we said that. But that was the transmitter. I wonder what you could have done differently.
Well, I don't know, because we were launching it, because we said we were going to go. I remember I'm standing out here outside talking to David, going, what the bleep? And he's like, I don't know. This thing is down. And David's not an engineer, and I'm not an engineer, and Topper wasn't an engineer, and we were really at the mercy.
Dade is.
Yeah, and we were really at the mercy of.
Another thing we found out the hard way that if you were a small startup station and you're able to hire an engineer, it's because he doesn't have a job.
Yeah.
Why does he not have a job? Maybe he's not the best in the world.
Well, the guy who put the whole thing together wasn't Dade. It was another guy, right. and he was
it's supposed to be good, right?
Yeah, and that worked out. That was it sucked. And so, we were at the mercy, and they said, oh no, it's gonna be fine, everything's gonna be fine, and then we get on, and it was so intermittent, and so, like I said, we pissed off so many people for so long. I think they just said we can't do it anymore.
Can I share one of my favorite early day stories? And it comes from Frank. We all love Frank Bullington, Frankie the Bull. I get a call the day before you guys launch, and it was even before Frank knew that there was transmitter issues. He was like, "Dude, we're starting tomorrow," and I'm looking at our inventory. He had just learned. He had never worked in radio before. He just learned what inventory was, and he's like, "Hey, we don't have any commercials." And I'm like, "Well, just they'll be there. Just put some promos. Let's put he had made a bunch of promos and said put some promos in." And for a while, it was promo radio.
Yeah.
It was the bomb.
I'm a helicopter, or I was a train, and Richie was a helicopter, and Coffee was whatever, and everybody was. Yeah, I mean, it was because you start up a radio station, you don't have commercials.
He talks about all the investors being paraded through, and he, they go see the studio. Yeah. This is where we make all the commercials and stuff, and these are like, some snobby people in suits and stuff, and they're like, "Hey, play us some of what we'll be playing," and he's like, playing "I'm a Train"
a happy
and all this
helicopter,
this random crap, and
it was
funny though.
It was great.
We
knew it was great, but somebody else is expecting radio.
But see, that was one of the problems is we were so carefree. Like that's why it was so good. Is it's almost like there was a. Well, I guess we just naively thought that we would just crush anyone and everyone, and that would be that. But we knew we needed a signal.
Yeah.
That was a big problem.
That was a big problem. But I thought, I mean, I had been up in Dallas, and I had listened to when I was doing the golf show. I was doing a lot of the golf show and moving around quite a bit. And quite frankly, I thought we did better radio than the ticket did. But we got it. When we got the national stuff, it really got away from us.
Yeah,
that was if we could have held our ground and just kept on doing
whenever you
what
ask,
we did.
Yeah, but here's a question: could we have just held our ground? Because we're red hot right out of the gate, but eventually this is where there's a disconnect between listenership and management / radio station. We couldn't always be the little station that could throwing rocks. At some point, we had to take a step up and become.
Right.
I guess the key was it really was like feeling like a smaller station, but being a bigger station to sustain all of our contracts, which we were well compensated, at the radio station, to sustain that with limited advertising at the time, which was an issue.
Well, but the question is,
bigger,
we had to get bigger. But if we'd have kept on doing what we did, as opposed to get the sporting news and that,
yeah.
If I think we could have grown it that way.
Yeah.
I don't know.
And
but here's another thing. If we didn't get the sporting news, it wouldn't be Yahoo Sports Radio today. And guess what? Yahoo Sports Radio is kicking ass nationally. It's doing really well. And then it turned into 97.5. So from the investors and the David Gow perspective, it's done pretty well, despite the fact that people were pissed off at 1560 for everything that happened. It's actually turned into a business because it did get bigger and get national, which it killed 1560, but it cured the business.
Yeah. Well, and that was always a disconnect. Like I never cared about sporting news. I never cared about any of that stuff just because it wasn't who we were.
I only cared because I took Brando in the Seinfeldian draft.
Yeah.
You did take Brando?
That went over well.
But see, at some point we probably had to
do. I took Rich Lord's underwear.
I took Joel Prisbilla's sister's virginity.
Right.
Literally, actually. And
congratulations.
With my wife.
Yeah, I bet she was pissed.
But I just think at some point there is something to playing the hits. Like you have to have some phone calls. You have to have some conversation about Texans. You have to do, I think that the best radio that will sustain long term is a mix between how to do your sports and non-sports, and your sports. And this is kind of, I've been able to see it from being a 610, not 790, which is similar, and then at 1560. The real key is blending the fun stuff we did with the solid sports stuff, and understanding that right now, 610's numbers right now are plummeting. They always say, Texans have nothing to do with how good we are. We are dominant. No one has ever done what we've done, except John and I had a 5.6 back in 2005, and Nick Wright's like, no one has ever. And actually, we have. You were in Kansas. You were at Syracuse, or you were in high school or whatever. So you wouldn't know. But we did have a 5.6. No one has ever. Actually, John and I were third in the market in men 25 to 54 behind a Spanish-speaking station, which doesn't count.
Que bueno.
Yeah, we couldn't compete with them. And the box. And then was us.
Yeah, the sock puppet. You can't.
Pepito. So we couldn't compete with them, but we were third in the market there. So, yeah, and we had to fight back from Lauren Bill fucking us over with Russ Small and changing our time slot from, all right, we went from 6 to 9, 7 11. Then they moved to 5:30 to 9. And John and I would say, well, hello, donut makers, prostitutes, and whoever else is up
Taxi
right now.
drivers and cops.
Yeah, that was it.
And unfortunately,
5:30, dude, that was the worst. And I was getting pissed off waking up then. Man. I was coming in pissed off, which actually made for decent radio.
Come in. He'd throw his folder down.
The best radio I did was when I was pissed.
Oh, that's still the case.
Honestly, or when I was really happy or pissed. Like when I was getting my first divorce, well, my only divorce, sorry, wife. When I was getting my only divorce, that's when I came up with the answer, the radar detector. I was on edge the whole time.
I think that's when he threw his sandwich that Michael P. Davis got him.
It was not a sandwich. It was a
bagel
with
cream cheese.
And I knew he put extra cream cheese just to be a dick. He was doing that to be a dick.
He took it, and he's sitting and he threw it, and it's sitting on the window.
Stuck with cream cheese like it was glue. Dude, it had like an inch thick of cream cheese. And Michael P. Davis was being a dick to us because we were being a dick to him because he was in the other room. He was our producer, but he wanted to be on air.
He hated it.
And he was doing like fantasy baseball. We're like, can you come do anything with our show at all? So he'd go down as a passive-aggressive move. Like, hey, can you – and we buy breakfast. Like, I just want bagel, cream cheese, Coke. That's no carbs in that,
Healthy.
So anyway, he'd come back.
90s.
And it was so fucking packed with cream cheese. And I knew he did it on purpose just to be a passive-aggressive asshole. And I was pissed.
I think that's when you were going through your divorce. That happened.
It was that. Yeah, it was that. And the 5:30 in the morning wake-up call.
Okay. Some of the
big
funniest shit.
So much.
Rusty used to walk through his neighborhood with, what was his pumpkin?
We had a producer who was 5'3". He had jeans from the 70s.
He was 70 years old.
And he had orange hair. He was the strangest looking guy I've ever seen. And he would tell us about, like, actually, Rohit, one of our producers, and Michael P. Davis would come in and tell stories about what Rusty would tell us. Rusty hated our show. Like, these guys are doing a terrible show. This is an embarrassment. And, like, he'd go in there, how's everything? And we'd know, like, how's everything going, Rusty? Fine. Okay. Does everything sound good? Does the show sound good? Like, he goes, sounds good.
He'd walk through his neighborhood with Pumpkin, his dog, and he'd turn in people because they had satellite dishes facing.
He was the narc in his neighborhood. He was the neighborhood narc. Was our 7-year-old producer.
That was our producer. And Michael P. And Michael P. didn't give a shit about anything.
Chris Jones didn't give a shit about anything
Chris Jones.
Either.
You would ask him to do something, and Chris would go,
okay, I'm trying to answer phones too. Dude, I know. It's all right.
Answer the fucking phones.
Man.
Oh, my God.
I'm telling you, there's a lot of meat on the bone in terms of stuff that went on at 610. But because I was like one of the first people with a laptop and with an email address. People used to just send in faxes.
We did it with a newspaper.
Yeah.
And if the newspaper didn't come, you didn't have your newspaper.
Dude, I had a laptop like John. You will not believe ESPN has an insider piece, and Mitch Lawrence has basketball stuff that no one's getting. That's when I found out that Jim Rome was basically jacking all of his stuff from ESPN Insider. All of his takes that I thought were awesome. Either he was getting it or Travis was writing it from ESPN Insider. But our producers at 610 were not as good as our producers at 1560.
Well, Nooney
Oaks was a pretty good producer.
He was a professional producer. He just didn't fit the show.
He didn't really fit the show, but he's a pro producer. I like Nooney.
Yeah.
Dell, I thought, was awesome.
And
I thought
Raheel
was probably the best producer because he could anticipate what we wanted. He reacted to the show.
He just hated it. I loved Raheel, but I thought Dell was the best one.
Did you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dell was really good too.
I mean, he was so ornery.
I was probably jaded because I
love that.
I was in a bad mood. It was a combination of bad mood and kind of depressed from about early 2010 on, when I knew our listener base was eroding.
What about from Brando till Exit?
Yeah, but when it really hit me was when Frank. I didn't ever look at ratings forever. I did like it. Our very first time we were in the books, we beat 610. Like we beat their morning show with probably a signal that reached realistically at that time 50% of Houston, maybe.
Yeah.
And wasn't even maybe 60%, but wasn't even functional the first hour of the show.
Yeah, but our ratings were never good. Our time spent listening was off the charts.
Well, our ratings were good because of the TSL.
Because of the TSL.
We had a 3.2
but
first
our QM was
our
never.
QM was low
because we were limited.
QM means your total listeners, but the longer they listen, it's like a multiplier.
Yep.
So I always knew it was a house of cards that we had to build the QM. But I guess I just thought our listeners would always listen as long. And sometimes newness wears off, and even if you think you're doing a good show, they'll just start listening, just a little bit less.
But that didn't happen. They stayed.
Well, eventually it kind of came down a little bit, TSL, right?
Never.
TSL means time spent listening.
Not until we added the Brando show. That's when it didn't plateau.
But Dale was really
fantastic.
Dale was a really good producer, too.
To have you guys who are very naturally funny, forwardly alpha funny. And
do you have anything to do with? You had nothing to do with Dale getting fired. You had no call on that.
No,
I wouldn't think so.
Yeah,
I haven't had a call on for a while.
Yeah. So
with anybody getting fired.
So what was it like?
I hired everybody. Everybody, what? How about you?
You were the good guy.
You as a boss. I mean, well, who did I boss around?
Right. I was going to say. There was a couple questions about what was it like. Obviously now you're talent at the show and you're doing your show. Back in the day though, you did wear two hats because we
I
as
never
your team
really managed. I mean, I got yelled at, but not yelled at, but David was like, "Hey, how come you're not coaching John and Sean?" Because I do a show and I know that you want to leave them alone and let them develop into what they're going to develop.
Would you do it differently now if you had it to do all over again?
No,
you wouldn't coach them?
I wouldn't.
I thought they made a mistake. I thought.
I did bring them in and say, guys, you're taking too long on one subject.
Or All College Wednesday was a great concept, but if you didn't like college football, you wouldn't listen.
Right. But
they're so both of them are so unbelievably talented that I think they could.
I wouldn't have changed College Football Wednesday, even though it didn't rate.
Yeah.
I mean, it was something. I mean, they had great guests, they had great content. I mean, they weren't going to do the same kind of show we did.
Well, that was a show. About your best ratings, or do you care about your best show? Like, see, here's the dirty little secret about radio: the content and the sales and content and programming don't always mix, because you could do an awesome show, but it may you may have the most awesome show, but it may hit niche. Right. You may always be a little like lowest common denominator radio will rate higher a lot of times, but it's boring.
Well, it's top 40.
It's
playing the hits.
My philosophy in radio is why I got whacked, and that's I believed in super serving a small base and grow that base, and that wasn't the approach that they wanted to take, and I carried it down to my death.
Are you happy that do you still agree with? Because I don't always agree with super serving a small base. I like serving the right base and growing
but wait a minute.
there.
I think we're doing the same thing as the ticket was. I mean, maybe not to their extent, but they have a huge listener base.
But
why is it that it has to be a small?
Because it starts small.
They were the first in with it in '94.
Yeah, but
that's the norm there.
Oh, right.
They established.
But we were doing our radio. We did the same show.
No, we did.
Because
people never came back to us because they didn't know where the fuck
Well, that was the problem.
Yeah, and
it wasn't the show. It was the problem.
Right. And there was you'd build an audience and then we'd crush it. Then you'd build an audience and then you'd move and crush it. And then you'd build an audience and we'd move and crush it. And now there's a divergence of you two guys, and so it's a split audience, and so everybody suffers. But what was it like for you, LZ? Because like John, you've established what it was like being a manager / co-host. What was it like for you? Even though John didn't wield his authority with aggression, he wielded it very lightly. What was it like knowing in your head, I'm doing a show with my co-host, but ultimately he's also I report to him at the end of the day?
Well, I didn't really feel like I reported to him.
No, I went to David Goff or anything. Yeah. That's what everybody did. No one talked to me.
I just felt like it wasn't like I don't know. It's one of those weird things where it was never really set up. I think I came over with the expectations of having a little more say-so inside an inner circle, but the inner circle is always kind of fractured behind the scenes because of other stuff going on, and I'll just leave alone. But so it was never like. I'll just say this: what goes on one side of the hall is many times drastically different than what's going on the other side. Meaning, the talent on air, we can only control what we control. We can't control sales. We can't control their concept of what radio should be. And this is really anywhere. I'll tell you this: 790 has never messed with me ever on anything ever, which I'm very grateful for. And I've heard 610 when Gavin was there was just a micromanaged. Yeah. Just you had to meet with them every day before and after. So I'm very grateful that they don't mess with me in that regard.
JT's home.
JT. Man, that scared the piss out of me. I thought his heel had broken in. So it sounded like.
He's watching the Heat game.
But anyway, and in a lot of radio stations, it never melds. What the people on air do, it's always going to be at odds with what management wants. Not always, but many times, it's not going to. I remember when Topper got all pissed off at me for doing something on Quiznos. Remember that? They had the Quiznos rats, like, and I said something about it. Yeah. He comes in, what in the fuck are you doing? we're going to lose him. I'm like, they're not advertising with us anymore. Yeah, and they never will now. This is when we were at 610. Like, you can't do that. I'm like, it's their advertisement. We're talking about, they want us to talk about it. That's why they put those rat things on there, to talk about it.
Yeah.
But that's a classic case of, it should be okay for us to talk about that, but advertising guys are always worried about the dollars, So you're always going to have some of
One
that.
thing about Sean and John's show that I would say that now 5 years later, that College Football Wednesday, it may have been a challenge for somebody that wasn't a hardcore college football fan at the time, but in today, 5 years later, what a show to repurpose, cut and edit podcast. That show, it was pretty spectacular. I think it was a show that was before its time, and it yeah, I dug it.
Well, like you said, though, you got to be a college football fan. I don't know if it's a great market for it. In Alabama, that'd be a great show.
Right.
Well, I think on Sirius XM radio, on the College Football Network, it would crush.
I can't believe I had this year. I had Sumlin, Les Miles, Gundy, Holgerson, Levine, and Bailiff, and
you know what?
Cale Gundy.
As a listener, can I tell you why those are interesting?
You know what it did here? Nothing.
But to me, whenever you have these, particularly with the ones that you have a personal relationship with, they're interesting because of that relationship, not because of the content.
Yeah,
that's what I always
think
found.
At the end of the day, when it's all said and done, and this is something I've really been able to see some things more clearly when I've stepped away for a little bit, and I've gotten all the negative stuff out of my head, and I thought, well, we failed on this level. I'm like, no, we did a lot of really good stuff.
Totally.
I think people don't want to hear guests as much as I think good guests, but I don't think they want to hear guests as much as they want to hear us or hear the host if they like the host.
It depends. Like Van Gundy? Yes.
Well, yeah.
Absolutely.
I mean, if you're a killer guest, that goes without saying.
Berkman. But see, like he said, though, like I'll fuck around with Summy and Gundy and Holger, Dana.
Yep.
Yeah, and he'll just go, well, that's because you're stupid. And,
right.
and that's fun, as opposed to just so coach, 3rd and 4.
So short on time here. We got to talk for a second about blue light because it was probably the most important thing that's ever happened.
You keep saying short on time.
On radio.
Like he has to go.
I have nothing. I'm
Why
good.
Why are you saying short on time?
Well, because the game, I was trying to be respectful to
Are people actually watching this? And when the game's
164
right now. How many viewers?
164.
164 right now.
So I just want to talk for.
What the hell is the matter with
Twitter?
you?
I want to talk for 2 seconds about the Blue Light Show. And for the uninitiated, it was a show whenever the inmates were running the asylum, and Frank and I, the Blue Light Show started with, we went up to the station late one night to test the new night transmitter, and we got trashed and turned it on. And we turned off Sports Byline, and we were vomiting drunk and did a radio show. And
that's good for the license.
Well, that's a long time ago, though. That's an old license. And then a few weeks later, we did it again, and then a few weeks later, we had Lance come up, and next thing you know, we're having a periodic, maybe once, twice a quarter, just a night show.
Yeah.
And gals getting calls, hey, we've got advertisers listening, people wanting to advertise on it, and it was basically unprecedented. I'm telling you, this hasn't been done in a city like the size of Houston. There's nobody that's ever done that, and it was terribly irresponsible, but it was pretty special. Can you guys share a blue light memory with the audience?
Well, I remember I came up one time and you had some kind of cloak, like some kind of scary cloak.
We wore cloaks.
And remember, I got on a tricycle and y'all were filming. Like, I couldn't wait to be part of this little playground. And for my very first one, I came up and I was riding on the tricycle because you wanted to film it and create some kind of film with some scary cloak on. For the second one was my favorite because that's when I was a little high on Vicodin.
Yeah.
Because I was at the basketball tournament and I busted my elbow real bad and I was taking Vicodin to numb the pain, and we went out to Bar Golf 1 to go see all the listeners, and I came back to do blue light, and that was I was listening to some of that the other day. Man, that was incredible, some of the stuff that we were doing.
It was great. I went up me and Wendy both. I was high on meth or something. And we were fucked up that night.
Yeah, that was good.
And we read from the Breakfast Club. Yeah, Wendy is. Yeah, I said something about.
Oh, that we did Smokey and the Bandit too, and
yeah,
you were trashed, and you're like, we gotta.
Something about.
We were having you read racist stuff,
yeah,
and you didn't even
Mexican
know it.
Stuff,
yeah,
something about
truckload of beaners.
Yeah,
no,
but you were too drunk to realize.
I didn't know what I was saying.
Being racially insensitive.
I was Anchorman. I'll read anything that you put in front
of me.
So
good. Oh, those were good memories. But thank goodness we do have all the audio from everyone we've ever done, and Frank and I just don't know. We don't know what to do. You listen to it, and you're like,
at some point, it got a little out of control. I remember I wasn't there. I remember
didn't you have people from the
Black Club downstairs?
Yeah. No, it was just like anything club, wasn't it? It was just crazy.
Well, but it was on Black Night. Well, we did it once on the Hispanic night and once on Black Night, and we sent KJ down once, and I think we sent Raheel down another time.
Said, hey, girls to come up.
Bring some girls up.
Yeah.
And they brought up, and they were on something, and then they were on each other, and they were on the air.
Awesome.
It was.
At what point did you go from? Was there ever a point where you went from excited, like this is awesome, I can't believe this is happening, to oh my God, I could really get in trouble, get fired for this?
You know when that was? Whenever there was people doing coke on the table.
Yep.
And
that was a little story.
And there's weed being. I'm like, hey, I got work tomorrow, man, and this is a party. So yeah, Blue Light got out of control.
Yeah.
Eventually,
doing coke on the.
That's just not how I roll.
Right.
You know, that was pretty special.
Well, did they do it where Brittany's bod danced on the
same table? Yeah.
Same table.
Oh my God, that
happened.
Ken Hoffman had a show where he had a girl who was
She's an internet
entertainer.
Webcast. She's a webcast entertainment whatever. One picture of her, she's got a little bit of meat on her bones. The next picture, when we saw her come in, she was really thin. She got on the table and started coochie popping.
Yep.
And that was when we had video. Like we had the Ustream. People were watching that. And I remember being jealous. Like, I can't believe Hoffman has this on his show. He's such a dick.
Yeah.
I remember thinking, this is awesome.
Yeah.
Can't believe this is on
Was
Hoffy's
that better,
show.
or
What a waste.
Or when the girl hit him.
Oh, Mug Awards 2?
But what about in the studio?
In the studio,
he got beat up in the studio,
In the studio, yeah. She beat his ass, and then she beat his ass, and then another girl.
Another girl beat him.
Mug Awards 2, the boxing.
I think he cheap-shotted some girl in the studio, if I remember correctly. But how about this? Remember when Raheel just went and got rappers off of MySpace called the Thode Hustle Gangsters, THG? And he just pulled their song out. He goes, Lance, you like this song? I'm like, this song's the jam.
Let's have them.
I've got it to this day. I've got it on my iPhone. I'll pull it up. It's got a simple Casio-like sound to it. And Hoffy ended up getting it. So Ken Hoffman's interviewing the Thode Hustle Gorillas or Gangsters or something like that. He goes, let me ask you a question. How long have you been Thode? And what is Thode? I don't even know.
Oh, my God. Good memories.
That's the best.
Watch this. THG.
Good.
I'll play it for you
Thode
right now.
Hustle.
To this day, here it is. And it's got just a simple, sound here. Where's mine? Can you hear it? Straight Casio. Right? Could you make this when you were in 8th grade, probably?
All day.
And this is just a little beat.
Is it chopsticks?
And we were playing this, and Ken Hoffman was interviewing these guys, like 4 of them. Cruising. Here's a quick question. When you guys are out with the honeys or hotties, whatever you call them, do you also buy them fly jewelry? Like, it was just so uncomfortable. I was watching on webcam because I was scared. I didn't want to be there.
Right.
I was nervous. It's one of those Larry David nervous moments, like, oh, he's going to be with...
we haven't told any Nuno stories.
Nuno was funny. He wanted to beat up listeners.
Yeah.
Well, I will kick your ass.
I probably want to beat up people at other stations.
Yeah, you did that too.
Oh, he did.
And
he was just basically violent.
Hoffy would always say, Dave, Nuno, try not to fight with people. Try not to.
Who was like Brad Davies or somebody, or no, Robert Hensley, one of those guys made some crack about Hoffman's show, and it was fucking on. David Nuno was ready, like, tell you what, motherfuckers, we can make this thing happen. He was like, I'm not going to say who, but somebody is going to be in some big trouble when I see them next. Like, dude, we're throwing like grenades at other stations. Somebody barely says one thing about
it's on
Hoffy's show, and Nuno has had your back, guys.
He still has your back.
Oh, yeah.
Dude, to this day, he has our back.
Absolutely.
For sure.
When you guys won the 3-on-3, David Nuno was always
he and John Harris.
Johnny Harris.
Yeah.
Johnny Harris was ready to scrap too with everybody.
Yeah. That's awesome. Well, and then 1560 took a different direction. Johnny, you're still there. You got the afternoon show with Sean, having fun with the Kablan age. Yeah, Sean's awesome.
Love Shawnee.
He's the worst.
LZ, you're teamed with
I love Sean.
Charlie, which is, look back 10 years ago, I got to tell you, I didn't see that one coming.
I didn't either. Although, quite frankly, I've always had a lot of respect for Charlie. I mean, I think all of us in the market do. Charlie,
everybody does.
Charlie runs an old school show where he gets lots of calls, which is rare in the market now. People will load up a board for him. It's kind of like doing an old school show. And Charlie's got a sense of humor and pop culture. Here's the difference. Charlie lets me be me. The only difference is he doesn't let me really take off ADD-wise. He reels it back in, where John would just let me
get out of the way, Lance. The Lance train is running.
He would just sit and watch me.
Right.
Well, Charlie's like, and David on the Northwest side. Like when he's like, okay,
Well, but some of the best stuff is when you just went. The Lou Holtz with the dog on the porch thing.
Yeah.
Was, maybe that was my favorite. That was my favorite segment ever.
I can't find it to this day.
When he did Lou Holtz with the dog on him, dog never gets.
You know where it came from? One of our listeners sent me, I think, a link to SEC Media Days, and Lou Holtz was talking about pickle juice. That was actually Lou Holtz was talking about dogs don't pull hamstrings.
Right.
And he didn't really believe in pulled hamstrings. Like,
right.
What do you mean you don't believe in
and then you went
hamstrings?
into, I've never seen a dog with cancer.
I've never seen a dog. I mean, listen. A dog just barks and barks. And you see a dog piss on the fence. I never humans piss on fence. A dog piss on fence. Never see a dog jump up and tear an ACL. Dog never tore an ACL before.
I was on the floor.
And I feed off of that. To this day, I feed off of trying to make people I want to make them hurt.
That and resting the defensive lineman.
Oh, Mac.
Yeah.
I still didn't know there was blitzing.
No, Mac Brown. Well, then we got a caller that was pissed off because Mac Brown.
Can't believe Mac Brown doesn't know you can blitz in a damn bowl game.
Yeah, that was hard to believe that somebody thought Mac Brown was literally saying that there was no blitzing in bowl games.
Yeah.
And then they keep them fresh is what
keep them fresh.
Keep them fresh. Actually,
lineman. When Dom Capers was
and that came from an email that I got from somebody who said, I think it's funny that they're running guys on and off. And as I was reading it, and you can hear it on the – we'll play it. I've got the audio. You can right here.
Okay. Get up. Okay.
Get off. 94 off. Get off. 97 off. And it's true. That's how Dom Capers' defense was. They were always running on and off the field. Plays like
to
Travis
keep fresh.
Johnson.
To keep fresh.
Rest, yeah. Travis Johnson's like, huh? I'm on or off before the play.
Robert Smith.
Seth Payne's going, Seth Payne's hauling ass off.
For those of you that had 0.5 on Robert Smith mentions, it hit the over.
Hit the over.
Over on Robert Smith.
So we've talked a little bit about what makes good radio, and I think you guys are what makes good radio. But in general, what do you think makes good sports radio? Good local Houston-based sports radio. What's the magic?
Well, I'm going to say, because this is what I've been preaching for a while now. This is what I truly believe, and this is just in general. I think it goes anywhere, and we can talk about Houston specifically. I think you have to be unpredictable, and this is what Josh Ennis has going for him: is he's unpredictable. So you don't know what he's going to do, and I've got a lot of respect for the talent he has of maneuvering shows around and willing to take chances and all that stuff. I don't agree with a lot of what he does, and he's an arrogant prick. I mean, that's what, and he thinks he invented stuff, and our show really is substantially better than his and Rich's. And honestly, I'm not even trying to slam those guys.
Well, one of the things about that, I mean, the first thing that I thought of was be yourself and be real. And one of the things about Josh and Skip Bayless, and they're trying to shock you, and they're trying. Yeah. And a lot of people have said, you guys are making up that fight, or you guys made up that. Well, you guys made up that.
We never made up anything other than
we
fake
didn't talk.
characters.
He walk in at 1:06, and we hit the mics and go.
I don't like practicing. It's never good. That's why to this day I save things. If I have something I think is funny, I want your initial reaction on the air. Right. I don't want, because if you're
right in
laughing,
the break, he'd go, "I got something for you next segment." I'm not going to tell you. I'm not going to tell you. Right.
Yeah, if you're dying laughing, you're not going to laugh as hard, or it's going to be forced on air. And Josh is kind of like, I mean, he's from a radio family, so he does radio stuff. It's he follows the private parts, Howard Stern stuff, but he's unpredictable, and I think that's important. And our show was always unpredictable. So you had to listen a little longer, like you didn't want to miss out on something. I think the other thing is, so you have to be kind of unpredictable. And the other thing is, if you're not doing a show where you can put together a best of show, then you are not doing radio right. You've got to be able to have segments where you say, save that. That's for best of. Save that, save that. And so many shows now, can't put together a best of show because they don't have, and I don't care if it's a good, and you don't even have to be a funny guy. It could be a good argument on the air between hosts. It could be a good back and forth with the caller. It could be a great interview.
Yep.
But if you're not doing a best of, if you can't put together a best of show every month, like we did, what was it called?
We had a
recap
daily
SRG.
Daily recap.
50,
daily,
60,
and
daily recap shows that lasted an hour.
And it was number one.
Yeah.
It beat 610 and 790 back in the day from 6
Bullshit.
to 7.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it was pretty money.
Well, so I think for me, I'll let John answer, but I think you have to be memorable, which means having, memorable meaning you can put together best of, memorable, and you have to be a little unpredictable.
Well, I think that you just, like I said, be real, but be yourself. And, I like it, a conversational where the person in the car is actually just is listening in or participating, like you're with one of your buddies. I think that makes for a show that I want to listen to.
Well, I'm a firm believer that one of the things, and I think John and I there haven't been a whole lot of shows that you could say this about, and there's, in all honesty, if I were a guy 24, 34, 36, how many shows would I want to go hang out with the host and go have a beer? In Houston sports talk history.
Yep.
And realistically, there's not a lot. There may be guys you want to go meet. But how many guys do you want to go hang out with and spend some time just bullshitting with? Not many.
Right.
Not many.
Yep.
And none of the shows, I won't get into it, but it's hard to find shows like that now because a lot of guys are either kind of, I don't know. I don't want to just not cool or just, it's just not guys you want to hang out with,
Yep. Yeah, I feel like if I was to contribute to that conversation, I would agree with everything you guys both said. Be real, be authentic, surprise them, give them the unexpected. But I would also say that the goal when you're looking for the people on the air, you want people that entertain. And the days of informing and being an information source, in my estimation, and I might be alone here, they're over. That role doesn't exist on the radio any longer. And opinions are far less important now. There's a place to
what do you
deliver.
mean by that?
I'm saying that if your specialty is what you think about something, your opinion of it, that's not as important as your ability to take a topic and make it entertaining. And so podcasts, blogs, perfect for information, for in-depth information, and perfect because those people that I want to know what this individual, I want to know what Rich Lord thinks about this because I've listened to him for 10 years and I appreciate him. But on the air where you're trying to paint as many people as you can, your job is to freaking entertain them. I'm out of radio for 2 years, I'm out of sports for 2 years, and I don't give two shits about anything except for please entertain me.
But there's always, but see, this is the tough part. I think you always have to go back and reassess, do I know what the market is and do I know what the market wants? Because I think it's shifted when we started in 97. There's always little shifts in the market because there's a new group of young listeners, and these young listeners are more in tune with social media. Or this is a new young listeners, and this is what music's big, or this is what they're used to is entertainment-based. So being able to assess, and it's not always easy, being able to assess what the general public wants, like what you want may not be what that guy wants, and you'll never please everyone.
Then what I would say, based on what Granato said earlier, then you're the wrong guy. What you want needs to be what they want, or you need to be replaced.
I think there's
because authenticity is more important than any. And I think both of you guys, to me it's age indiscriminate. We will love whoever we love. Will Ferrell is 44 years old or whatever the fuck. Do you think any of these young kids that love his movies give a shit? They love him. They think he's great. I don't think anybody cares. I don't think age is an argument against talent, against people being real and people being fucking entertaining. And you guys are entertaining. Alone and apart, you guys are entertaining folks.
Thank you. What about Art says, some of my favorite moments includes John Harris getting pissed at the Dwayne Brown pick. He went off the charts.
Yep.
But then also this one. And I've known Johnny for a long time, and I know he can get kind of ticked off at different times.
Dialed in.
But when he got pissed about being teased about Colt Brennan,
he did.
Like, dude,
He did.
Johnny, you got to dial it back now. Everyone's gonna get teased from time to time. He gets so pissed because they're playing love songs with you and Colt Brennan. Or whatever it was. What was it? You're beautiful.
He was genuinely pissed.
I love that.
Just sat there like this.
By the way, the
Typing it.
whole reality thing, though, do you ever doubt for a second that when you're listening to Harris on the air that you're not getting the real John Harris?
Oh,
I know you're getting John Harris.
No question.
Yeah.
Poor Johnny's got he got an ear operation.
Yeah, no. I texted him the other day. He just said he's lost 60% of his hearing in his right ear, and he's going to have a surgery next summer to try to correct it. But
so
it sucks.
Johnny, get better.
John Limbaugh.
Not going to be able to hear. So now that you're out, do you have a different perspective?
I do,
radio?
and it's what I just summed up, man. It's please entertain the people out there. You know, whatever you and Charlie, you and Sean, remember that whenever you start beating off to any of the stats or any of the intricacies of it, if you're entertaining while you do it, then do it, man. But if you're catch yourself just in a pissing match over something that you and Charlie or you and Sean care about, bail, dude.
Yeah, that's not good.
That's
not good. That's not good radio.
There's
I think
nothing that matters as much as laughter.
You know, it's really hard to, and it's almost like marriage, because John and I did a show together for 14 years. It's really, but it's hard. You have arguments over this and that. You see somebody literally 20 hours a week minimum or more, especially when we were first air. You know, we going on each other's shows.
Yeah, with show prep like 21.
It's 20 and a half.
Yeah, almost.
It's 20 and 15 minutes.
5 minutes before the show starts.
But it's really, it's hard to always just to let everything go over. Just like, I've been married now for 11 years. John's been married a lot longer than that. And you have little things you hang on to over time. So you tend to have pissier arguments about certain things. Like me and my wife, I know what we're getting arguments about if the kid's going to school versus homeschooling or whatever. I already know that's going to start an argument. Or if she wants to start an argument, that's going to be what comes up. I already know that. And that's the history we have, and so I'll always stay like that. And I think anytime you have radio hosts who are passionate, who part of what they have done over time has been arguing about sports, for example, there's always some residual stuff that you have subconsciously. And I'm sure Hudson and Harrigan, they didn't hang out all the time.
But to we, the audience, once you've invested in a show, and this is my show, these are my guys, those little pithy arguments you're talking about, those are part of the reality.
Oh, yeah.
And they're part of the unexpected.
Well, they remember it more than...
Yeah.
Yeah, I had somebody ask me, what's the closest y'all came to fisticuffs? Like, we never came close to fisticuffs.
And nobody has used that word since the 1890s.
The maddest I remember being at John or him being at me,
I don't even remember.
it was something that you stormed out and you ended up bringing back some barbecue or something. Like it was I don't even remember what we fought about, but it was something where you took off.
One time, I don't know what it was in a break, I think. You picked up all of your papers and you
slammed them
in the garbage.
Was this at 610?
And at 610. It was in the early days, and you walked out, and you were gone for a segment, and then you came back in. I left one segment because of Hadley and who was on?
Well,
Bob Huggins.
Bob Huggins.
Oh,
that was
Yeah, I was nervous.
That was
I thought Bob Huggins was going to come through the phone.
But there were times when, like, one time we got in a really bad argument about because I was really pissed at you because this was like our first year being on radio. And you were asleep, like falling asleep in the show. But you had something personal going on with Wendy and her brother or something like that, and I didn't know about it. And so I kind of started chewing on you during a break, and you got really pissed because you had other stuff going on, and we got in a really bad argument. Because that first year, like John was doing Sports Night Live. He was doing TV at night. There were times, I remember, I swear to God, the first 5 months of our show, there was a time where I heard him snoring during a segment, and I'm talking on the air, and I'm like, and in my head, I'm thinking, "Oh Jesus Christ, this is my only chance." And my co-host, and I was running the show. For whatever reason, I was on the seat running the show. And then once John was off of doing TV, Sports Night Live, because Sports Night Live was just going to a sports bar late at night.
And then what?
Whatever, and then waking up early. Then he was like way more focused on what we were doing, because our show was really just, really, really taking off. It wasn't until the last couple years of like 2010, 11, where our show started to decline at all. But it always sucked that we were never able to get all of our 610 listeners over, because it really is true. When you leave somewhere, man, people are so dialed into what if 610 was their home, they'll just hey. No offense to John Lopez. John Lopez never rated anything at 790, but now it's 610, where he helped to build up, and he's doing his thing, and he's done some good things. He helped to rebuild it once Mark and Andre's show, kind of came down. But
Sorry about that, Mark.
That mothership is.
It means something.
Yeah, it means something, especially when the Texans play really well. It does mean something. And 790 right now where I am, we've got Rockets and Astros, but Astros don't bring anything to the table. As a matter of fact, me and Charlie's ratings were doing this, and then we had spring training baseball.
Sad trombone?
Holy crap.
What about you, John? What are your thoughts on the Astros?
I think the Astros are great.
This is the year, right?
This could be the year that they at least make the playoffs and maybe a first round win.
Yeah, that'd be a stretch. That'd be good. Yeah. Well, I saw another question I really liked. Have you guys ever considered leaving radio for good? And if so, what would you do? Or maybe not even leaving for good, but bailing on radio.
Yeah, I've thought about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What would you?
Thought about if to do something else and
TV world.
I had an offer to do something else, and no. In the bar world, and I don't know, too set in my ways now.
It's in the blood, though. The bar.
It is in the blood. I grew up in a bar, so. But no, I mean, I love it too much. I never ever go, shit, I got to go do the show.
What about the day after I got whacked?
I hated that. No, I hated that. But the show, I went and did it.
You did it. It was probably great.
Because I had to do it. You do it. You do what you, no matter how you feel, no matter what's going on here, no matter what's going on with the kids, no matter what's, you got to turn the mic on and nobody gives a shit.
John's a consummate pro. Like, I've always let things bother me. And sometimes it was good for radio. But I swear to God, I mean, John was a pro. Like, I mean, he'd come in and do a show while he was drunk. I couldn't do that. I couldn't drink. To this day, I can't drink and wake up and do anything. I can't do it. He could do it. He would come in when he was sick and all that stuff. So he's like, he's from the old school of just being very professional, and which is great. And that's actually, it's just probably just called being professional.
Yeah.
That's now I think about it.
Well, sometimes. I mean, it's not always professional. Well, you've been out all night drinking. When you were off one time.
Probably out all night drinking is what probably wouldn't fall under professional.
No. But I came straight from being out. We were playing poker. And I came straight, and we stopped and got a cooler full of beer, put it in, and here's Bill Van Rysdam walked by. I'm playing poker while I'm doing the show with Roy Marsh and Chad Clay, and during the whole show I'm dealing and doing the show, answering calls and doing and talking on the radio while playing poker and drinking beer. And Bill Van Rysdam's walking by and going back and forth, and I could see him. Never walked, never said, never.
Well,
never
wait,
said
this is 610. You were
That's
drunk like this?
in the old studio.
Oh, I didn't think you got drunk like that in 6. Well, yeah, I do. Yeah, I do.
Yeah. Remember when Dick Harmon was there, and we were at the rodeo the night before, and I fell asleep, and Dick's like,
you know what? That may have been the show that you fell asleep.
Yeah.
One of the ones where I was freaking out, like, dude, he cannot fall. This is my only chance at radio. I'm a 27-year-old guy. This is my big shot, and he's sleeping.
One thing.
My co-host was asleep.
You just mentioned.
Man, Dickie's bringing in.
There's that professionalism.
He's bringing in Ed Shane and like, hey, probably a guy sleeping on the radio. I know you can't do that. I know.
It's funny. You just not funny, but you just mentioned Dick Harmon, and one of the great things about doing such a fun show and such an awesome show where the audience participates and has fun and laughs and it it's great when something truly emotional does happen, like you lose a friend. It was good radio, and I know that sounds terrible. It was so hard for you guys.
When we played, when Butch and Billy came in.
Oh my gosh!
And we played Dick's stuff.
Yeah, but it was good.
It was hard,
good
though.
Because you'd already established here's who we are, and we're freaking fun. And by the way, we're hurting right now, and
that was hard.
Yeah,
losing Dick was hard.
Yeah, I remember where I was, man. There was actually 2 losses. One guy, Chris Chrisman, who
wow.
I didn't know him well, but for some reason him dying. He was a producer at the station.
Peed in the garbage cans. That's all I knew.
What's that?
Peed in the garbage cans.
Yeah.
He did pee in a garbage can.
Regularly.
I just felt something about me felt.
And I thought other stuff too.
He may have
dropped a deuce in
there.
There
were some poopies in there.
But I just felt really bad when he passed away. I just thought, how alone he kind of was. I don't know. I was just kind of bummed out by it. And then Dick, I remember I was headed to to my parents' football clinic, and we got the news that I was getting in the car, and man, just I hadn't really dealt with death of friends
right,
at all.
Yeah, exactly.
I guess my grandfather when I was in 3rd grade, but other than that, I really hadn't dealt with that too much, and that one was kind of it was premature, so that one was pretty hard.
I think that was oddly, I think that's something that helped galvanize your audience.
He was still on our show, like he was still on the station.
Oh,
yeah. I think that was something that everybody felt, and now we all felt like we were part of what you guys are going through. So that was cool. What about favorite show? I mean, it's so hard to say your favorite show that you guys did together.
I'm going to mention something from very early on. We did a really cool show right when we were trying to get our legs underneath us. We did a show called The Intimidators, and actually Mike and Derry Ashford helped with this one.
Hold on. The fact that you had to say it was called already makes it so gay.
But John and I, this is our first kind of planned show. We had Calvin Murphy on. We were talking about guys who were intimidating in different sports, and we got guests. It was like a real grown-up show and everything. Like, Dickie, we got guests, and Dickie's like, "Hey, partner, that Intimidator show was a good show, goddammit. Hey, partner, yeah, Dickie, that's a good show, partner. Intimidators." Like, yeah. And little did I know, the other things we were doing the other days were good too.
Yeah.
But we were busy being told it sucked.
Yeah.
We weren't really
But
sure.
you didn't change, so that's good.
My favorite was the Lance Berkman shows.
Oh man.
The first one.
My favorites were the Lima shows.
The Lima too.
Oh.
Dude, Lima early before he got a little bit of a big head, where he would
before
come
20.
In. No, Lima coming in.
He'd come in, speaking of coming
he
straight in from being out.
All of a sudden, we'd see his face in the glass, and it would be him as we're starting our show, like, Lima's here, come on in.
Hey, motherfuckers.
Yeah, like, Lima, we're on the air. So we'd have to dump out, and then Lima did 4 hours straight with us.
Oh, I know. It was the greatest shit ever.
And it was incredible because he would do 4 hours straight, and he had been out drinking the whole night. And that's the day that we told him that Steve Woodard.
Yoron.
Yeah, Steve Woodard called. Like he said, his act was tired or something. He goes, Steve Woodard, he said Yoron. You know what that means? Cry baby. And then he had a song called Yoron. After that.
Yeah. Yeah, but Berkman was awesome too. I think
man.
that started the 4 hours. Berkman spent 4
No,
hours.
Lima was first. Lima was first because Lima came in. We started calling him Cy Lima in 1999. Berkman
you're right. Yeah.
2000 or 2001.
Yeah, that's true.
Lima was the first.
I got to tell y'all, whenever Puma came in, one of the early days, I'd been there for a cup of coffee, whatever, and I don't even know if I don't give a shit. He needed a dip. He dipped back then, and I had a can of snuff, and he like fucking zoned in on it and saw it in my pocket, and he's like, "Hey," and this is me, right? I'm still I'm awed by you guys, and here's fucking Puma, and he's like, "Hey," and so I gave him a dip. That was great.
You love that.
Oh,
you'll never forget. Did you take it out of the garbage and
I still have the can.
Save it?
Not the chaw, not the
It's
plug.
a pretty cool guess. One time out of nowhere, Michael P. Davis called like Phoenix Suns. He said, "Can we get Jason Kidd?" And like, hold on. Yeah, he said he'd do it. Michael P. Davis, who did nothing.
Nothing.
Nothing. He goes, "Hey, you're not good." He comes in during a break. He goes, and you could see he's really full of himself. He goes, would you be interested in maybe having Jason Kidd on the next segment? Like, yeah, sure. No, really. I'm like, really? And Jason Kidd was on with us out of nowhere during a shoot around. Clyde Drexler coming on the show was cool when when Clyde got hired by U of H, Jack Ramsey came on the show, and we had Clyde on the show. Magic Johnson came in studio.
I was there for that.
Vince in studio.
Vince in studio.
Right after.
Yeah.
Hey, by the way, a name that we haven't mentioned that was a huge part.
I like your boner noise. That was
Fizz.
Nice.
J Fizz.
Yeah. Peanut Butter Jelly Time in 1560 studio was awesome. You think we ever missed? That was kind of a component that really always was missing from 1560 was little brother to pick on a little bit.
That's real.
Oh, no, we had Captain Choppers.
Yeah, he eventually came in, but Fizz was like part of the fabric of the show.
Right.
I don't know that he always loved it.
No.
Not so much.
When I asked him to smell his fingers.
He's trying to marry a Christian girl. Like
he goes on a date.
Has your finger ever gotten stinky or
no,
whatever?
No, he came back from his date. I go, let me smell your fingers.
That's missing on our radio right now.
Yeah.
Fizz's finger smell.
Finger smell.
That's pretty grand. Anything else? Any other thoughts you guys want to?
How many people are there?
We 155. We hit
thank you
182.
people for listening. I mean, it's in the middle of the game. Is it halftime yet? That's great that you people.
We had a lawnmower in the studio once.
Oh yeah, John and Lance with John and Lance.
Oh yeah.
Space City Texan says that John, and we didn't even plan it that way. Lance Berkman and John Barry with me and you.
Oh, Barry.
Yeah.
Oh my God. What about Two Girls, One Cup with Nick Van Exel?
Oh yeah.
Oh my God.
On the air.
If I had to say 10 of my favorite moments would be Nick Van Exel almost vomiting live on air, watching Two Girls, One Cup. It would be the onside kick at Klein's.
When he got arrested?
Two of them. One was at 6:10 because Matt Jackson was our on-site reporter. Klein kicked to start the show off, the Christmas show. He kicked it over Westheimer, and a cop rolls in to arrest him. But little did we know the cop was listening to the show and was kind of in on it. And he fake arrested Mark. We didn't even know he was.
No, I thought he was arrested.
How about
the
this
onside
one?
kick? It's 15-60 where we
went
kicked
over
it
the bush?
off, and guys were diving into landscaping, and then. It was also
under the car.
Under the car. Pass protection drills in rain where somebody broke a wrist and didn't sue us.
Eggnog challenge.
That was awesome.
Eggnog challenge, yeah.
How about this one?
Christmas
How about
parties
our first TV commercial for 1560 the game? And it was a series of still pictures that I had edited, and the music that was playing was the song from Two Girls, One Cup that we aired all over Houston.
Hey, wait, I want to break this into a separate category. Radio Now.
Ooh.
What do you guys think about radio? I'll ask John, what do you think about radio when we first started versus radio now, where it is today in Houston?
I thought it was a lot more interesting back then.
Without a pro football team.
Without a pro football
It was
team.
weird. There was so much excitement.
I thought it was can't miss radio. And now I don't find that at all. I drive in my car and a lot of times I don't even turn it on.
It's hard to find out with shows.
It really is. I thought it was you had to listen to Charlie and Rich at KTRH with Russ Small.
Yeah.
That was can't miss radio.
Yeah.
You had to listen to that at night.
If you gave a fuck about sports, that's what you're going to listen to. So
yeah.
It was also.
It was a different time.
It was an island.
Yeah, but it was still. I mean, in my car, I couldn't not listen to it. So and now I don't find that. I don't find that at all.
No, and I think that right now, like I know that the guys over at 610 think they invented a lot of things, like all this. But we were doing, ratings. Yeah. We did that. Memorable stuff. Anything that they think is memorable. Somebody gets they're an online priest or whatever, a preacher, and they can get a midget or whatever. We were doing midget stuff back in the day.
Yeah.
We've been down with midgets. And on top of that, we had Slapfest in front of. We had a 5-year anniversary party where we put our most famous callers all on one bus. We went to 3 different bars after the show was over. 3 different bars. Basically, it was like a 14-hour day for me and John. There's another big fight we got into. Was at Slapfest 2. We were in front of. I think there was 14. No, there was like 1,100 people there. We were at capacity.
Fire marshal literally showed up.
Fire marshal shut down. People couldn't get in.
What did we get in a fight about?
We got in a fight because, and I was actually in the wrong here. You were really shitty drunk by then. Remember, you were kicking over. Like,
yeah, because it was like wrestling.
We were getting a fight of how the Slapfest would be judged, and I was like, no, everybody needs a vote. Like Mattress Mac gets a vote. And Jim Boylan is here as a Rockets assistant, and you're like, who gives a shit how it's judged? Like John, and like, I don't fucking care how it's judged. Like, we gotta get a fucking judge the right way. Like, and of course, really just you guys slapping each other.
That was what it was.
Really all that mattered.
Yeah, y'all wanted to see pain.
I didn't give a fuck.
But your Slapfest 1, which we don't have on tape,
no,
you guys legitimately slapped the piss out of each other.
That was the best.
It was even harder than Slapfest 2.
My 13-year-old daughter is sitting there,
and
she's like, Daddy, why are they doing this to
That's
each
a
other?
Slapfest 2.
No, 1.
No, she wasn't 13.
Frank,
How old is she now?
No, Steffi.
Steph.
Oh.
Holy piss fuck.
Oh, yeah, go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
Steffi. That was 12, 13 years ago.
Yep.
Right. She was there 13. She was 13.
I'll tell you exactly how many years ago it was.
Why are they doing this?
Because we induced my wife early because the date that it was scheduled was my daughter's due date, so we induced so that we could do this.
You guys, I remember you didn't think it was really going to go through.
No,
like
no,
one of you
no.
tried to bail. Taylor tried to bail.
Yeah,
right?
you want to. Yeah, we had worked it out. We had practiced, and we did. I taught him because I'm a theater dork. We taught stage slaps and how you're supposed to do it. And then John pulls Taylor aside and says, "You're the big brother. Fucking take his head off." And so my fucking cock brother, first slap.
He went heel.
John then goes, "Big brother rules. Big brother goes first," and he closed fist.
And were you all ready to roll your face?
And no, it wasn't. You leave your face and you go kind of limp wrist when you hit, and it's a loud noise and it doesn't hurt. And he clocks me in the face. Bam! And I just felt betrayed.
Like all the other shit he did to you.
Oh, yeah.
When he left you at the stories that you guys told him.
Oh,
well, you kissed my girl in the backyard. Wham! Well, you left behind. We were supposed to go in the army with me.
Yeah.
Wham!
Yeah. And you go, and you were, and that's what started Slapfest. You guys legitimately had some kind of like fake beef. Well, real beef, but
yeah, we joined the.
But after he slapped you, it was on, right?
Yeah, then it was a fight.
Him. And from there, I couldn't believe what I was seeing. Like, everyone who was there was like, oh my God, we are seeing something that is crazy.
Every hit was,
it was bad.
Before Hot 97 did anything.
So
in fact, I'm convinced we're the precursors to it because I've never seen anyone do it.
It was a great commercial from Fox Sports.
Fox Southwest.
And it was so Slapfest won, but we had a show that literally we could get all the callers together. 1,100 people showed up. I dare you guys to try to get 11. I dare you to try to get 110 people.
How about the 1560 after the shirts were out? That y'all seen the picture at the bus?
Slapfest 3.
Yeah,
at the bus.
That was a sea of red.
One thing I've learned is that people like to see each other slap each other.
Yes.
Yeah, you're right.
You can't get a crowd out there when you slap.
Violence works.
Well, I went backstage on that one, and I didn't encourage to slap. I told Malik, if you kill him, I will fucking kill you.
Malik was
ready to
angry.
kill him.
See, this is the difference between John at 6'10" and John at 15'60".
See, there are differences, boss man.
Because you're like you wouldn't let us tase Timo.
You can't tase him.
But he said he get tased.
No, remember when somebody was drunk, got tased, and they
get tased all the time by cops and they don't die.
Yeah, but I know, but I didn't want. God forbid, Timo dies, and at the bus.
You know what this is called? A waiver.
No, you can't.
Can't waive. I don't think you can waive your life. Timo's awesome, by the way.
Well, I know he's awesome, and he wanted to get tased, and we were going to tase him. I
didn't want to see Timo die.
Okay, John 6'10" would have let somebody get tased.
John at 6'10", and all my problem.
No, that's about the only difference.
Except Malik.
I didn't tell Taylor you're the big brother. You got to crush him.
Well, one of you motherfuckers did.
I think he
punched
did.
Me in
I was
the
also
face.
a big brother.
Yeah,
I probably did it.
Bitch. 2 steak dinners.
That's funny.
No.
I'm trying to see if I have any other stuff on Twitter. We're covering most of it. Radio Today, yeah, I think Radio Today is a little stale. It's just so much, but it's just a law of supply and demand. There's just so much supply now that demand, I think, is kind of down, and there's nothing you can really do about it. I mean, some shows, sometimes people want, and there are a lot of people who want dumbed down radio now. I think that it used to be when Jim Rome did a show, his show was fresh and new, and it had a lot of cool elements to it. Now it's just a parody of itself, but it was really, and I enjoyed being part of that energy that with me and John leading into it, and then of course with Rich and Charlie afterwards, the energy just kept on going. It's the same cool show.
What? No, that's something that we did at 1560.
Rich and Kenny.
We believed in that whenever we started the radio station. We wanted to make one audience. We didn't want show audiences. We wanted one show to hand off to the next, and build the energy throughout the day.
A lot of people didn't know Sean and John, and I think they got to know them because they trusted us.
I thought we did that.
By the way, with a lot of bodies in the Houston radio scene over the last 7 years, Sean and John are survivors. They're still doing shows, still doing well. Yeah. So, yeah.
No,
so we were fucking right.
Yep.
Cool.
Oh, everybody that I got.
Yeah, Nuno's doing great.
No, Nuno is excellent at Channel 13. Raheel was great.
Yeah, Raheel left by his own volition, but he's a talented kid.
You and
Frankie's unbelievable.
It was awesome.
We had a good run.
It was awesome.
Yeah, let me just say this. I know people have asked before, and I've never addressed it. And I'll probably address it in some of the writing I do on this. But leaving the station was, man, you can't believe how hard it was for me. I went home to my wife and just like, I wasn't happy in general, and it was just I wasn't happy with what our station had become. I just wasn't happy with a lot of stuff, and I felt like I had no control over my career anymore. And it was really like it was devastating for me in some regards. I mean, it was reinvigorating because I got to, you have that thing where you feel like somebody wants you all over again and all that stuff, but it really is like a divorce. Like it's really, really hard for you. And the same thing, after my first deal, I had to sign a second contract, and I was looking at, I was talking to 790, and I was talking to to 1560 Yahoo with David, and I couldn't quite get things right where I needed them, and 790 was a good spot for me, and I'm really happy with the guys at 790. I mean, well, let me just say this, because we've reminisced a lot, and John knows how I feel about him and all my years with him, and David Gow is a great guy, one of the best guys ever. I can honestly say that Eddie Martini, who I work with now, and I don't know if you know him at all, Chance, but Eddie Martini is phenomenal. You know him a little bit. Eddie is a great guy. Brian Erickson, my program director, has never messed with me and likes what I do and encourages me to try to do more. I can't do everything I like to do with Charlie. It's different, but I can fit into that kind of show. The producers are really good there. Like, it's been going back to a big corporate station. I understand that the pratfalls. I mean, they're always going to be there. You see different people get fired here and there, but it hasn't been. It hasn't been
at a one station market too.
Yeah. It hasn't been as bad as people probably think. And the people who I work with are really good. The people at 610 were not good. I mean, they made us want to leave. They treated us. They didn't treat us very well. They moved us all over the place. They dicked around with our money. They lowballed us on contracts. I got an old. How about this? I looked in my old. I found a folder, and it was Bill Van Rysdam, 2002, 2003. His assessment of Lance Zierlein. Like, here's my write-up. You write up what you think your assessment is on all these areas of your job. I'd never had any of these.
They were your employee reviews.
Employee reviews. One was in 2003, 2004. By the way, when our ratings came up after Russ Small was gone and they finally came back up, he goes, all the branding calling a sports talk.
Lifting.
The heavy lifting's finally paying off. No, getting a guy off our show that shouldn't have been there paid off. You guys screwed up. But I read my review, and I gave myself 3s and 4s out of 5s, you know. And, you know, I thought, yeah, I'm doing a pretty good job. His was like 2s, straight 2s, and there's a long thing of how shitty I was. I remember being pissed the next year, and it's almost like a setup deal. Obviously, the next year I improved in everything. Like, Lance is really taking a lot of what I told him to do to heart. And Bill was a nice enough guy.
He's reading the fish wrap.
It wasn't a contract year. What about when we all went in there and they were like, all right, here's your deal, 2% raise. It was like, what do you mean 2% raise? The cost of living is like 6 or whatever.
Yeah.
Here you go. Everybody gets 2%. That's it. Take it or leave it.
Here's how bad of negotiators they are. When I went in there to quit to go.
Yeah, by the way, when you left, that 2% was out. Remember that 2% raise that I got? All of a sudden it became like a 24% raise when you left. It was amazing. They found money.
Listen how
Jesus, Carl, we have this war chest. Totally forgot.
Listen how desperate they are when John left and they were worried about their ship falling apart. I go in there. And they said, you're going with John, aren't you? And I said, look, I don't really know what I'm doing. They said, well, we really want you to stay, and we're willing to show you with money. And they offered me double my salary.
Double.
They offered me, and
so you could have paid me this the whole time.
You're a dumbass.
That's exactly what my brain did.
Yeah.
I'm like, and you know,
me too.
I'm like, mother.
I did that
because
too.
y'all are dirty people.
When they offered me that money when John was gone, because I started so low with Dickie, relatively speaking, over a 3-year with our show doing this so quickly. I didn't know. I mean, we weren't really getting live spots.
I don't want to get into your personal stuff, but exactly how much?
I was making.
No, I'm kidding.
Okay.
I'm kidding.
I was going to tell you.
I love you. You're the
but
best.
it took forever. I got a 20% raise, and I said, and I knew that, like, you know, I'd worked for 2.5 years on the same money. I got 20% raise. Our ratings had gone from Mike and Ed were at 1.2, and me and John had gone to a 3.4, maybe 3.5 at that point. So it's pretty substantial. The revenue was way up and all that, but I had stuff I didn't know at the time. And so I asked Dickie, like, oh, I'm going to get raised. He goes, hey, I gave you this. I'm like, okay. He goes, hey, that's you know, I'm making low. He goes, that's a 25% raise, partner. That's all I can do. My hands are tied. My hands are tied, partner.
And he owns it.
And I called Rich Lord because I knew him back then. I'm like, what do you think? I'm getting a 25% increase, but it's not really because I started kind of low. It's not really.
Yeah.
He's like, you kind of have to take it. You just have to work your way up and all that. And I never had any beef with Rich Lord ever until now. We did make rooster calls on his show. Like we call our listeners to rooster call him a little bit, and he didn't like that. But I heard from about 6 people that Rich made comments about my my contract situation. I'm in the middle of losing $13,000 to fight a lawsuit against the station, and he made some pithy comment about
living up to your contract.
Yeah, something like that. And I'm like, dude, how can you possibly make this is my living. Like, why would you comment on someone else's money like that. It was
right.
It didn't make any sense to me.
Like we do every day with players' contracts.
Yeah, only I was working. Like, you don't hear players say that about other players.
No, you don't.
We're at a contract, and we don't make professional athlete money either. Like $13,000 to me was a lot of money to be coming out of my pocket, and he and after that he just became like, all right, motherfucker,
it's on, dog.
You are now going to be the symbol of everything that is wrong with corporate radio and blah blah blah, and we just. I mean, just
it was on.
Slung
I still remember his cell phone
him.
number. Is that wrong?
Yeah, it is probably a little wrong.
I should stop calling it.
No, don't call him. Don't call him. Oh, and Gilbert. People ask me about Gilbert.
John?
I can just honestly say I don't miss Gilbert. And nothing against Gilbert, but there was just a time.
I remember that motherfucker's phone number, too.
I just had enough of Gilbert.
I can tell you I still enjoy a good Gilbert call.
Oh, I know.
He still comes up with shit. I'm going to die next week anyway. And no, he told us this last week. And it's I'm going to die next week anyway, so everybody's got tickets. I got to go to the game anyway. And no, you got to get me Matt Schaub. I want to do Matt Schaub like I did Roger Clemens' interview anyway. John, you get me Matt Schaub anyway.
He got to interview Roger Clemens.
Roger
I can't
Clemens.
believe that's pretty
Remember
cool.
People gave a shit about that.
Yeah, you're making fun of. Like, no, we let Gilbert go in the Astrodome, and we got sued. Wait a minute. Do you remember when we got sued our second year being on the radio?
Yep.
And you know why? Because Sean Pendergast did a Saul Rosenberg.
Yeah.
He goes, we were making fun of somebody who a mom was trying to sue a school district because her son couldn't play for another team. He got moved into a school district where he lived, and that team ended up going to the playoffs. And so let's call the father of the kid, and Sean is doing the Saul Rosenberg, and I'm going to sue them. What are you suing them for? For foam fingers, I guess. Everyone loves a good foam finger. And he's doing this. The lady sues us. She said we're making fun of her Filipino heritage.
What?
Then we start getting hate calls, but we didn't have Twitter back then. Like, I can't believe you racist or making fun. Like, and Dickie goes, "Hey, partner, you making fun?"
Getting sued already. We can't get sued, partner. Can't get sued.
Mark
My hands
Berman
are tied.
Kind of screwed us. He went to like the lady to interview her about suing a local radio station too, and it turns out, of course, our lawyers ended up listening to the tape, which I didn't even know we had the tape back then.
Literally,
and they literally said, "Dickie, you're fine. This is ridiculous," and it got thrown completely out of court. But yeah, we got sued on that one, and you got some hate mail from the Italian American.
Yeah, because I'd say Dago
community.
and WAP all the time.
Yeah, the Italian American.
I remember something. I don't even know if you guys remember this. I got this pack. Do you know what I'm talking about? The big package of stuff in the mail that was all this steroid shit. Do you guys remember this?
No.
I got this. For those of you that can't see it, I'm making the 3-inch mark with my finger. Stack of papers. Some dude. This is a little bit.
You sure you brought it to us?
Maybe I think I took it to Bill, and it was photocopies and all this shit about Roger.
So we probably could have broken a major
We could have
story.
broken. It was everything.
Bill just buried it.
Was it from McNamee?
I don't know. No, it was some guy
probably
that
was.
It could have been. I don't know.
And you threw it out.
It was a beer can. It was
syringes.
Syringe. What about when you said schnoz?
Yeah, about Orrin Hatch keeping a schnoz out of
the
national championship game, and somebody said it was an anti-Semitic slur I was trying to throw at him. One time, John got in trouble. He didn't even know it, I don't think, because Dickie asked me. Some guy called. He was really upset because John said something about stormtroopers.
Right.
And this guy, when we say stormtroopers, we all think Star Wars. This guy meant like Nazi
World War
stormtroopers.
II,
He thought John was.
I didn't even know what a Nazi stormtrooper
He
was.
thought John was making some kind of anti-Semitic Nazi stormtrooper.
It was probably
goes,
Rusty
hey,
because he was around.
And Dickie goes, "Hey, partner, y'all say something about Nazis on the air?" I'm like, "No. What are you talking about?" He goes, "I don't know, partner. Listen to this message." So he played the answer machine. I said, "No, Dickie, stormtroopers are in Star Wars." Shit, partner, don't listen to him. You're fine. Can I get another raise? Hey.
No.
Yes, partner.
All right, let's wrap it up.
Yeah, let's do that. Well, guys, it's been a pleasure seeing John and Lance, the infamous John and Lance, together again, if only for an evening. Maybe we can do this again sometime and do some reminiscing on the interwebs.
Well, is this about it for your Chronicle deal?
Yeah, I'm done writing for the Chronicle. I got cut. The freelance writers, they're all the way down. Even the freelance writers are getting cut now. So I got paid. They took care of me. I've got no hard feelings. They were great to me. It wasn't Nick Matthews and those guys. It wasn't made on the local level, and they like what I do. And I'm looking at some other options that may turnout for me. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. But Chronicle, the Z Report's done at the end of June. So I wanted to. This is my own kind of bully pulpit, Z Report. So I wanted to put something in, for people to see the radio thing, see and hear. So we'll do this. I'll put this on. I'll have another, some Texans related post, something else about the state of Houston sports, something like that. And then I go back to my football site, the sidelineview.com, and then I've got some feelers out there that could be pretty cool, but I'm just waiting to hear what they are now. So we'll see.
Well, I'm doing radio, and that's about it. I'm not doing anything else.
No TV shows with Academy or anything? Oh, no, I guess since it went to CSM Houston.
Right. Yeah. Well, no, I was doing CS when we were in the morning, but once we moved to the afternoon, I can't do it anymore.
Yep. And I'm a world-famous video producer.
Yes, you are.
So, yes, yeah. Well, Lance, on behalf of Houston, this comes from not as a coworker, not as a PD, not as anything, just as a fan. I appreciate you bringing John, bringing me on to sit with you guys has been pretty freaking special. So we appreciate it, and why don't you close this out, dude?
Well, yeah, that's John Granato to my left. Enjoyed doing 14 years of radio with him. Hopefully you guys enjoyed watching it here on the Z Report. Thanks so much for Chance McClain for setting up the audio, setting up the video, mixing it down, and the finished product is compliments to Chance. And thanks to all the guys we work with over the years of radio, from 610 to 1560, now for me at 790, and for Chance for all the work he's doing as well. You can follow John at John Granato on Twitter, at Lance Zierlein, and yours is a little different,
Chance Kier.
Yeah, why wouldn't you put your wife's name in your...
Dude, I got on Twitter in the freaking early days, and I'm like, I don't give a fuck. This thing ain't going to happen. So I'll put my name in the beginning of my wife's, and now, I'm in the... I'm an early adapter, dude.
You were you're the one who told me about Twitter. Who would have known it would have blown up like this? But putting your wife's name in your name,
so
whatever.
That is weak as ice water.
Leave me alone.
So Jason Collins.
All right.
Later.
Houston.
Wait. Well, never mind. I was going to say something terrible.
I hit stop broadcast.
So yeah, there's these 8 Nazi guys.